Gosh. Oh yeah, because we have the Red Bull connection. That's like the Rainbow connection, only different. It's the Red Bull connection. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
I like blueberry.
I do like blueberry. Yeah, she was. I was like, could you go get me one of these like before my autograph session? And after, anyway, so okay, that's why. But these are. I really like the blueberry ones. I just don't like the silver. I don't like those. Those are assy. Just the standard 8-ounce regular. I'll save this for tomorrow morning when I need it.
I feel it.
Yeah,
I had
right?
my breakfast.
Me too. I did too. So, okay. Hi, what's up? Yay! Now that I guess it's time, right? Like it's 1 minute till. No, I'm kidding.
Takes mini nap.
Right? So hey, what's up? I'm Chris Patton, and I guess this is a generic Q&A type of situation. So you definitely ask me about cats. No, like I went to the Andy Warhol Museum earlier today, and for some reason the people at the Andy Warhol Museum were very into this shirt. I guess that makes sense though. But they
It
were
makes
like,
sense.
Really like your shirt. Thank you. Everyone sort of talked that way there. Not really. That was in my head. So I'm Chris Patton. I'm a voice actor. I've been doing that for a long time, and I've been in lots of shows for ADV Films and Sentai Filmworks and Funimation and Okatron 5000 and 2 other films. Lots and lots of anime over the past 18 years, and I narrate lots of audiobooks, and I do all the other things voiceover people do, like corporate narration and medical narration, and really quick, just on the subject of like weird things that voiceover people sometimes do that you might not think about. Someone asked me one time, what's the most boring or like mind-numbing thing I ever had to do as a voice actor? I spent 6 months, I narrated, have any of you ever done e-learning courses?
Yes.
Like where the course is taught for you via so I've narrated e-learning courses. I did an entire year's worth of advanced calculus.
Oh.
And I got D's in math in high school. So, I hated myself until I got the check, and then it was good. It was better. That helped alleviate some of the pain. But there was a really funny moment when I was narrating, and I looked at the engineer and I said, "Stop for a second." He's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I have no idea what I'm saying." He goes, "Well, it sounds like you do, and that's all that matters." Acting. So I sounded smart for a while. But you can ask me whatever you want. If you've got voice acting questions or questions about the meaning of life and the distance of the sun from the earth, I won't be able to tell you, but I'll always make stuff up, and it'll be super awesome. So go ahead and ask me things for an hour. It'll be magical. Yeah, you right there in the front.
Okay, I have a question. What is the most awkward you felt voice acting? Like, what's the most awkward role, like out of your comfort zone or out of your character like you normally play?
That's a good question. Sometimes when I say that, it means I'm stalling for the answer, but that's a good question. Actually, a couple of months ago, I got called in to work on a show called Dramatical Murders. And not that it's necessarily out of my comfort zone, but I've never had to be, I've never voiced a character that was that sort of demonstratively gay and creepy at one time. I was the tattoo artist in Dramatical Murders, and granted, in that show, he's one of the less creepy people, which says something about the show. But it was still pretty weird. I was like, oh wow, this is a straight up like yaoi-rific show. That's crazy talk. I wasn't really uncomfortable, but it's kind of hard to make me uncomfortable, but it's happened before. Certainly the elfin lead story, which a lot of you have heard already, that made me uncomfortable for how disgusting and wrong it was. But I'd say Dramatical Murders and Elfin Lead are pretty much at the top of my list of awkward. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay, well, it was good seeing you guys Saturday at the con. I'm kidding. Really? No, but I saw more hands before. You in the back.
I just had a quick question because I wasn't able to come to the panel yesterday.
Oh, that's okay. I do repeats. It's
I
cool.
was wondering if you could give a short summary of what are the most important things to do to get into voice acting.
Right. As I said yesterday, it starts with an inverted pentagram, a goat, and a circle, and some Kool-Aid.
Fortunes.
Once you've done all that, the important things seriously are lots of acting training, and that sounds obvious and basic, but a lot of people don't, for some reason, think it's important. And by that I mean, take acting at, if you're in college, take a basic acting course. If you're in a place that has a lot of community theater, I know community theater has a reputation and it's bad, but it's also sort of the training ground for. That's where actors. I still have the Andy Warhol pen on from the museum, so that's awkward. So go to the Andy Warhol Museum. That will help you. No, but you train your acting instrument, train your acting chops. That's the most important thing you can do. From there, I think really simple things that a lot of people don't think about, like reading out loud to yourself and recording it. You will learn so much about what you're capable of and not capable of as an actor and as a storyteller. Because really that's all acting is. It's just a form of communication and storytelling, no matter what medium you're using to get the point across. So what else? I mean, down the road, you'll run into the question of, do I want an agent or not? Of course, like I said last night, I could talk 2 hours about the importance of a good demo and what makes a good demo, but you need, sooner rather than later, if you're really serious about voice acting and if it's more than a hobby, you'll need a good demo. Let me go ahead and just say this to all of you who's interested in voice acting. Right, so everything that I could say on the subject, let me go ahead and tell you, there is a book that, I don't recommend a lot of books on voiceover because I think a lot of them are garbage, frankly, and they're expensive. But there is one, that's two, there is one that I repeatedly recommend, and it's called The Art of Voice Acting. Kind of a dumb title, but it's a great book. It's sort of like the Bible of voiceover. It's written by a guy with a very unfortunate name. His name's James Arlberger. But it's literally, it's like 300 pages. And it comes with a CD that is full of vocal warm-ups and tips and tricks on how to take care of your voice and things you can do to improve your acting. It's the best book I've ever encountered, and I've probably read 10 or 15 books on how to be a VO, but it's the best one, for sure. You're leaving already, Red Bull?
I have to deliver this.
I see how it is.
I will be
Fine.
back in 5 minutes.
Okay, all right, we'll see.
He left his sword, so.
I'm gonna time him. So yeah, that's my basic summary. I hope that sort of answers your question. But really, read, I'm not kidding when I tell you, pick up a copy, even if it's used or whatever, of The Art of Voice Acting. You will not regret it. Yes?
So you talk about getting a demo. Where does that fall in order between the acting training and the community theater? Because
listen, that's a really good question, and a lot of people, especially new VO talent, they like to jump to the getting their demo made. Don't do that. You need to wait till you're ready. And that's where you have to learn to really be critical of yourself and be honest with, this mic is getting all my high ends, it's really weird. You gotta be very critical of yourself, and you've gotta be honest with yourself, and you've gotta be able to say, I'm ready or not for a demo. You have to have a certain amount of training and ability underneath your belt, or else you're gonna make a demo that's crap. And if you spend between $200 and $600 getting a demo made, and then you get it made and you start sending it to people and they're ignoring you by the droves because it's kind of crappy, then you've wasted your time and money and energy. But so that it becomes a tough call that I can't give a definitive answer to. What is the timeline? I don't know. I mean, I started acting when I was 9 years old. I didn't have my first official voiceover demo until I was 33, I think. I'm not recommending anyone wait that long. It just took me a while to sort of blossom and bloom and figure out, because I'm a flower apparently, and just figure out what exactly I was doing with my life. So it's down to the individual experience, but you've got to be honest with yourself about where you stand in the world and how you stack up against other. There's a website called voicebank.net. You can go to voicebank.net and hear tons of professional demos from Los Angeles voice talent. These are going to be sort of the benchmark demos, and that's what you need to be honestly aiming for, because those are the people that are in Los Angeles, at least, that are making strong six-figure incomes as voice talent. Now, I mean, that's extremely rare. It's a very small percentage of voice talent that makes that much money. There are some that even make 7 figures. all like to know their secrets. But that's mainly down to luck. But but go to voicebank.net and really listen to those demos and see how they're done. And it's very eye-opening. Or ear-opening. Okay, gotta be one gay dad joke per panel. Yes, yeah.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, aside from like the paycheck, obviously, what makes you decide that you want to accept a job?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the cheeky answer is because it pays me money. But that's more like a commercial or something like that. If it's something down to like an anime or an audiobook, it's usually something that I am enthused about. But again, like I said yesterday, I'm at this point in my career now where I don't audition for things anymore. And people just call me and say, you're doing this thing. And you have to hope that it's cool, right? Because they're like, oh, I know Chris Patton's voice. I know what he can do, so I'm going to cast him as this guy.
Because Chris.
Because there's 18 years of body of work and precedent. So, like the last two things I did at Funimation, there was no auditioning involved. They emailed me and said, hey, we need to book you for these 2 shows for this many hours. And I'm like, well, who are these people? And I started Googling, So, but you hope that when you land a new job, that it is something that kind of lights your fire. But yeah, that I guess what makes me excited is when I find out I've got an interesting character to play that has an interesting arc. Like the guy I played in Prince of Stride Alternative, I had fun because he was such a douchebag. And
I know.
he was such an insufferable douchebag. But that's really fun to play. It's not boring at all to play that guy, God, he was mean. And it was really cute because Caitlin Glass was directing me and she's like, oh, you're such an asshole. Oh my gosh. You're just such a bad person. I'm like, I know, Caitlin, and thank you for thinking of me when you saw this guy on the screen. You think about that. You're like, why did I come into your head? That's all right. You got a question? Yeah?
What's your favorite episode of Ghost Stories?
Oh God. It's like asking to pick your favorite child. My favorite episode of Ghost Stories. I like the ghost in the toilet, of course. Oh, you know what? The bunny girl is right up there. I mean, that's a great episode. Is that the one where Hajime... It's terrible. When he finds the sign in the forest, and he starts reading it in Chinese, and oh, God. Yeah, okay, that's my favorite episode. Like, absolutely. Plus, Brittany Karbowski as the crazy bunny girl, she slayed it. It was amazing. That's my favorite. Good question. Hold on a second. Anyone over? Yes, you.
So, I'm sure you've, at this point, heard talk of the 4th season of Full Metal Panic getting made.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's coming up next, what's happening?
No, and I'm asking everyone, believe it. Because between working at Sentai and Funimation, we know it's going to go to one of them, right? Like, probably. Yeah. And nobody knows anything yet. And it's so frustrating because I'm like, man, I've been waiting for that for, 10 years. 10 years now. And Lucy and I are both very... Yes! 5.5 minutes. So, no. I will not penalize you too hard, diggity. That's... Sorry. I don't know. I'm waiting. I'm just waiting to hear, and I hope it happens. I can't imagine them not dubbing that show. It doesn't make any sense. So...
Looking at the rest of the source material, it gets pretty intense soon, too. So.
Is it based on the manga?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. I should probably read that. Before I work on the show. Yeah, yes, you.
Out of, well, I know this is kind of a difficult question, but is there, to your memory, any specific lines that were incredibly hard to deliver?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and let y'all in on a little secret about my vocal instrument that you don't usually talk about what your detriments are as an actor, but I have a hard time with when THs roll over into Rs and Ls and then back into THs, and I can't even think of an example of that right now, but actually just in Prince of Stride Alternative, this guy, Tizono, he talked rapid fire, and he was always talking to Himimeya, which is actually really hard to say fast. But he would that's like the rate he spoke at, and he would speak in these big chunks of lines. And whenever, for some reason, my brain to my mouth, unless I'm feeling like perfect, which is rare because we're humans, that you go into a session just feeling like perfection. I get tripped up anytime there's a THRL-RLTH situation going on. So the whole red leather, yellow leather warm-up works really well for me because that's my detriment. So, but I can't think of a specific line. Actually, Ghost Stories, when I had to say, put down the Krispy Kreme Serpico. It's a funny line, but like it was really hard to say, and it was really fast and loud. And it's funny because people ask me to try to repeat it, like at panels, and I'm like, put down the Krispy Kreme Serpico. And so it must have taken me 3 or 4 takes to get that right. But yeah, sort of dovetailing with what you asked. Have any of you watched Log Horizon? So I play this dude named William Massachusetts, which is a ridiculous name, by the way. But there's an episode coming up where he's the entire episode. He speaks for 19 minutes. And so you know the episode I'm talking about? Yeah, I just recorded that about a month ago, and Kyle Jones was like, well, Patton, he's like, how are you doing today? I'm like, awesome. He's like, good, because you have a pretty big monologue. I'm like, oh, okay, well, what do you mean by pretty big monologue? He's like you speak for the entire episode. And I'm like, okay. And I will say, I must have had some really grade A Red Bull that morning because I did the entire monologue, which was 19 minutes recorded. I did it in about 36 minutes. Wow. So, thank you, yes. You can throw money, it's all right. Or underwear, I really don't care. No, because then there's a hygiene issue, which is not good. Money's awesome. But that wasn't the most difficult, oddly. It's the little things that surprise you. God, everything's a bad joke right now. All right. But it's always the little things that trip you up. Like if any of you watched Password last night when Micah and I were playing, there was a word, it was like slow or something. And like we couldn't make our people guess that word. So same thing when you're doing voiceover. Sometimes it's these little tiny lines that will mess you up, and yet you get an 18-minute monologue and you can just slay it, and I don't know. It's weird how the human brain works sometimes. That's my philosophy of the day. Anybody else? Yes, you.
Okay. Favorite episode of Guyver, and do you know if it got canceled before you got to do any more, or?
I don't know the story there.
Okay.
I wish I did. It was a real kind of a big honor to work on that show because I knew the sort of the history that it carried with it and the sort of weight. And I remember the director was this guy named Charlie Campbell, I think, and he had me come in. Actually, I did audition for that one. He had me come in and read really quick. I'll tell you a funny Guyver story if I can remember my favorite episode. But I will just tell you a funny episode where a fellow actor threw shade my way, and to this day I don't know if he meant to be shady or not, but I call him on it every once in a while. He's like, why do you always bring that up? Blah, blah, blah. How many of y'all know Blake Shepard? Do you know Blake Shepard? So Blake, we were hanging out at a con in Houston one night. It was like 3 a.m. We were hanging out in my hotel room just talking, and we were tired, and I'm sure partially drunk at least. And he's in Guyver as well, but he's like a smaller part. And I know he wanted show really badly. And I was like, well, so just one actor to another. I mean, he goes, I heard Guyver the other day. And I'm like, cool, what did you think? And he's like, I mean, it sounded exactly what I expected from you. Oh. And I was like, Blake? And he's like, no, I mean, yeah, just Chris Patton performance of show in Guyver, yeah. And I was like, you shady bitch. And he swears to this day that he didn't mean anything negative by it, but I think he's lying with his hair. Anyway, he has really fabulous hair. That's right. Yeah. I don't know, favorite episode. I'd have to go back and think about that for a while. My ex, though, that I was with for 5 years, was obsessed with Guyver, and anytime I think about Guyver, I reflect on my past relationship.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. It's actually a good thing because we needed to. By the time we broke up, we really needed to be broken up, and I'm with somebody new now, so woo, yay. Wow, like sands in the hourglass. Yes?
Who's the coolest voice actor to hang out with?
I mean, besides myself, obviously. No, Troy Baker's really fun to hang out with. He has this weird thing he does that we were at SakuraCon in Seattle back in 2010, and we were hanging out a lot of the time there, and he was on this trip all weekend where he would be like, it made no sense. He'd look at me and he'd be like, hey, you see that girl over there? And he was this voice, I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I had her. That shit was all right. And I'm like, what? He's like, just go with it, Patton. That shit was all right. I'm like, okay, whatever. Where they took us to this like 5-star restaurant in this beautiful part of Seattle, and we're having dinner and drinking wine, and Troy Baker, he's eating salmon, and he looks up and he goes, I had some Chris Patton one time. That shit was all right. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. But that's my memory of Troy Baker. I don't think of video games or motion capture. I think of that shit was all right. My language. Too late. He's cool. God, who else do I have fun? I actually have fun with Blake, despite his hair and his shade. Jason Liebricht, if any of you know who that is. We were just in Arizona together, and we had so much fun. Oh my God. So the convention space we were in Tucson, I don't know why I'm hitting that repeatedly. So we were sharing the convention space on Friday night, Bernie was there, and so he and Elizabeth Maxwell and I went to the Bernie rally, and the next night, Donald Trump was there. And Jason Liebricht is kind of a hothead, and he's like, hey, Patton, you want to go check out the Trump rally? And I'm like, Jason, I don't know. So we ended up checking out the protesters, and that was interesting, but I could tell it was like he was aiming for a fight or something, and I'm like, dude, calm down. But it was a really good time. He's fun. He's really, and given that, I have to say Elizabeth Maxwell is, I don't know how many of you know her, but she's awesome. She's a fiery ginger girl, and ginger girls are pretty awesome. But there's so many. Like this convention makes my 98th. So I've hung out with lots of voice actors. Back in the day, I would have told you Monica Rial, but like we used to be like besties. But now we're not. No, it's because she lives in Dallas and I live in Houston, so we don't hang out all that much anymore. So, anyone else? Yes, he right there. He is a great actor. Yes.
And I wanted to know about networking in the industry, how important it is, and how do you do it? Like, if you wanted to start and you know you need to network, who would you go to and how would you make it work?
Man, someone just asked me almost that question last night. Networking is a really strange. Do y'all know what it means to like network?
Yeah.
It's basically like work in the room. Something actually Vic is really good at that. There are some actors that have this strange alacrity for networking that some of us maybe aren't quite as good at. I don't know. But it is actually really important if you want to. It's part of the reason why people Vic specifically, he has a great skill set where it's the same thing I've heard about Taye Diggs. If any of you like Taye Diggs apparently is really good at the same kind of thing, and it's part of the reason why he's as famous as he is, because when he gets into a room, he makes sure that he makes eye contact with everyone. He'll sort of schmooze everybody, and like whether or not it's sincere isn't really the point. It's the fact that he's making time to engage with you and like look you in the eye and like say a word or two to you. That's kind of what networking is about. But I mean, as far as like how you do it, it's something you just it's a skill you sort of pick up on. But it's something that you can do via email. Like you have to start. Part of what you do as a voice talent is you email potential clients. And it's like, how do you do that without coming across as awkward or desperate or needy? And I think a lot of the truth of that is you don't at first. You come across as desperate, awkward, or needy, and you sort of learn from your mistakes as you go along. And I don't know, I think it's actually helpful to go to the business section of a bookstore and start looking at books on networking and building client relationships and stuff like that, because it's a really tricky path to navigate. And like I said, some of us are like born for it, and some of us are terrible at it, and some people are able to develop the skill, whatever. By the way, I'll address really quickly that whole exchange about Vic. I'm sorry, but when I see YouTube videos of of someone publicly decrying like my right to get married as a homosexual individual, I'm not going to be terribly fond of them as a human being. I have no thoughts on that person, on how he is as an actor. I think he's very talented, and I know he has a giant fan base that are very loyal to him and they love him, and he's very good to them. And I've watched and I've done panels with him, and I think he's a professional. And but I mean, you know, we're kind of oil and water. We're very different about like who we are in life and our stances on certain issues and beliefs and whatnot. And some of the things he is loud about kind of rub me the wrong way. So I'm not buddy with him. Is really all I meant by that. I was just, you know, I was presenting it in a little bit of a comical way. I didn't, but you know, not everyone in this business gets along. Not everyone in this business, we're not all friends. So it does become an interesting question of like, who do you like to hang out with? But it's, of course, like anything else in life, you like to hang out with people who share your values and views and your basic, I don't know, that like to have fun the same way you do. But 8 times out of 10, when I hang out with voice actors at conventions, it's cool. And like today, we all did, all the voice actors did the Escape the Room. And we had a lot of fun. Like it was, oh yeah, you were there, and you were, no, but it was a lot of fun. Well, you discover how stupid you are. Thank God for Micah's wife, because she really got us through most of it. Like she was amazing. I think she really did about 70% of the work, would you say?
Maybe 60.
Maybe so. Okay, you're being very generous. But no, like this is a good example of just most of the time it's also cons are a great time to hang out with your peers, because like people often ask me, what's it like to work with Todd Haberkorn, or what's it like to work with Greg Ayers? And the truth of the matter is, I have no answer for that because we don't work together. I mean, we may hear each other like in the cans, and we may bump into each other in the hallways of a studio, but we don't work together. Voice acting is most of the time a very like isolated form of working. So it's cool when you come to a convention and be like, oh my God, I know you from hearing you a lot, but now I can hang out with you. And you do kind of make an extended family, and you make friends and everything. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately there are literally like 2 or 3 people in the entire industry that I kind of rub the wrong way with, but I don't hate anybody, and I don't have like beef where like I want to go smack talk them. It's nothing like that. It's just, you know, you don't get along with some people. It's just life. Next, yeah.
So I thought that was a very interesting comment you just made, that you said like when you're in the studio, it's like kind of like isolated, because it's very like in stark contrast to like the Japanese style of voice recording, where they're all basically all in the same room together,
kind of like a radio play,
like sharing microphones.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you had any like thoughts on that.
I just don't know how they do it. That would drive me insane, and that's probably just because I come from the school of like, I've always been alone in the booth, you know, except I talked about this last night a little bit, except in the case of a show called Go Danner, where we did things in twos. It's basically a show about couples, and even if the couple is a brother and sister, you know, whatever, and because that's how it was. We recorded like across from each other. But I've never done a recording in a big group like that. And I've watched video of the Japanese doing that. I would lose my mind. I'm ADD, and I would just be like, what do I talk? What? And like it's amazing. Surely, do they rehearse that? They've got to rehearse. They've got to have rehearsals, like almost like, because it's like it's blocked.
They usually have a warm-up session.
Okay, that makes sense, because it's almost like they know exactly when to walk up to the mic and when to back off, and I'm just like, this has to have been at least gone over. It blows my mind, but I could never record that way. I think I would.
That was airing last year called Soregaseyu.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's voice acting.
That's voice acting.
Yeah, and it's about voice acting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that sounds interesting, actually. No, I don't know. I think I might have a panic attack if I had to do that. It'd just be too much. Next question? Yes.
What is your thoughts on character types and how some directors are jerks and think that you can only play one certain character type?
Oh, wow. Man, this question's coming up a lot lately. So, like, typecasting, right? Mm-hmm. Well, so I mean, this is what I say about that. So, I basically fall into variations of 1 or 2 categories, and that's 17 to 23-year-old mech pilot, or 17 to 23-year-old possibly gay villain. And the good news is, there's tons of both of those in anime. So I will always have work. On the other hand, yeah, it's kind of cool when a director maybe wants to see you try something else that's very much out of your comfort zone, like someone over 30, or someone like super manly. It's really fun because you get to find out what sort of the limits of your vocal instrument are. But generally, it doesn't bother me. It's like, I have job security with the voice that I have. Thank goodness. I mean, I'm very lucky because if I could never be movie trailer guy. Maybe like an 18-year-old whispering in your ear, "In a world." Oh, that's gonna make me want to go see that. Yeah, no. So I'm kind of happy about it. Yeah, but I do think that versatility is also important because you do, like, when your character range tends to encompass a bunch of different teenage boys, you have to find ways to make each one of those teenage boys a little bit different sounding. So versatility still comes into play. It's just you kind of work in that one range. Yeah. Deep thoughts. Yes. With way in the yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there any? If you could choose, what would be like the dream character that you would want to play? Like, is there any particular character that you've always like kind of wanted to play?
Like a type?
Like an actual character, like you've seen that in a manga or like in anime. Like, I would have loved to play that.
Oh yeah, well that happened to me way back in the day when I first got started. I've been doing this for about 2 or 3 years, and I discovered this beautiful, amazing, incredible show that had a beautiful, amazing, incredible dub called Hellsing, and I was like, man, I wish I could have like done Alucard, but some beautiful, amazing, wonderful human being named Crispin Freeman had already sunk his teeth into it. That's 2 gay dad jokes. All right, so, but that was definitely one where I was like, oh man. I mean, of course he killed it. He's wonderful. Oh, he's very fun to hang out with because he's super funny and he's super intellectual, and you kind of have to get through this shell that he has. But once you've done that, he and I have had some really great conversations. I really like Crispin. He's awesome. Alucard was one, but I have to say that I did finally have my dream come true of playing a pretty creepy vampire last year when I worked on this show called Diabolic Lovers. Yeah, I played Ayato, and he's dodgy and creepy, but he's really pretty and he's a vampire. So, you know, I mean, whatever. And people have lots of strong feelings about that show. I was like,
we've been wanting to ask you about that all day, and we
What
were
do you-
nervous about it.
what do you want to ask?
Just like how you felt about being in that show.
It was a job, you know, like it was fun. And also, like, I talked to a lot of female people who were like, they're like, I have no problem with that show. Like, it's just what it is. It's just a really silly piece of fiction, and it's sort of, you know, ridiculous reverse harem kind of nonsense. And it's like candy, you know what I mean? Like, there's no nutritional value. But then, like, there are people who worked on it, like the writer who said, I don't want my name on this. She changed her name. You know, she's like, I find it offensive. I find it misogynistic. And I understand that aspect too. But for me, like,